How's it going, everyone? I'm that Malcolm guy, writer, director, musician, producer, DJ now, and events organizer, and I'll be having a very thoughtful conversation with Edna on ARTSY. Catch us on YouTube and on all your socials at Being ARTSY, and yeah, I'll see you there.
ARTSY is a web series / podcast where we're having conversations with creative artists, talking about their art form, their life's experiences, and social issues as pertaining to the art. We are redefining the arts, producing knowledge on different art forms, and also in turn fostering a community of creative artists.
Welcome to the show.
Yo, thanks for having me.
So when I think like the madness that I think creative artists require to just even dare to do it, yeah? And I'm talking about madness not in a mental illness where, although, to be honest, you know, creators need...
Shout out mental illness.
Yeah, to step out of the status quo.
Yeah.
To operate on the peripherals, on the margins of what's considered normal and valid and important. I think about you. I think that all creative artists are, but I think you take it to another level.
Interesting. Do you mind me asking why?
Because you're just mad. Like you take, like even when I feel like creative artists like, oh yeah, I'm a visual artist and shout out, I'm a writer, you know, I'm a this and this. You're like, first of all, you refuse. And you're not out here holding placards, you refuse by doing, yeah?
Okay.
You refuse the categorization, which is antithetical, I've always thought, to the arts. The arts don't specialize. You will see artists who, for example, you are a dancehall musician, you're a director, you're a writer, you're everything. So you
I'm a DJ now. But yeah, go on.
You refuse to be categorized in that straight-jacketed.
Yeah.
And then even when you pursue the different forms, whether it's music, it's film, you take it to another level. Like you're not operating within the line.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I appreciate that. I think that's maybe something that one cannot really say about themselves, you know what I mean? Maybe you can be aware of it, but also maybe that seems like the kind of thing that's maybe like better observed by other people if you just keep doing your thing.
Because you're all about the work.
Yeah, I guess, man.
How is your experience with it? Does it get burdensome? Do you now feel like now real mental illness?
Shout out mental illness.
Because even just doing one art form or a few or whatever, it's already a lot. It's already, you're in your head and you're contending with the difficult things. To create is to deal with yourself. It's to face yourself also. Yeah. And on the level that you're doing it, I wonder what your experience is like. I'm always wondering what's in your head.
I don't know. I don't even know where to start with that, because I think you deal with yourself on the level of like the actual creativity of what you're making. But I think a thing that is also a very real burden in this world is dealing with the world, you know, and sharing your work with the world and interacting with it in a way that one, you hope will be appreciated, you hope will be received, you know. I think we like this whole idea of like, I just make for myself, which is true and nice when you're making, you know, but there is a moment where you do cross over and you want to share and you want it to be, and I think that's also its own thing. Then there's also just the level of surviving in the world, you know, and I think the dream is for all those things to work out together, you know, and to kind of create a life for you that is full and wholesome and wonderful. But I think it's also like a blueprint that doesn't exist in a very broad way, in the way that other ways of life do, you know. I think it's one that maybe has a bit more figuring out. Every way of life has a lot of figuring out, you know.
This in particular,
But I think this is like, not even to be corny, but I feel like there's a level of creativity that you have to apply to it as well, on a level of like, how do I survive, but still also like do the things that make me feel alive and passionate and alive, you know?
Yeah.
Even if those things are not the things that might necessarily, especially at the beginning, create that, even just like material sustenance, you
Right.
know? And yeah, I feel like it's a juggle, but it's also, I think I'm trying to learn how to live, to enjoy the game of life,
Okay.
you know, and to enjoy like the challenges as like a game, you know. I think as human beings, as me as a person, I complain a lot. I complain a lot about the things that aren't working out. It's so hard. Oh my God, I'm being an artist. You don't get me. But also, I think I'm getting to a point in life where I'm trying to teach myself to enjoy the challenge, you know, enjoy the game, enjoy those moments. I keep hearing this thing of like, man, one day the things that you want, you'll have them. And then you look back on the moments where you were struggling for them and you realize those were really pure, amazing, wonderful times that you were not even properly present for to enjoy because you were just complaining the whole time. You're just like, oh no, woe is me, oh God. And the complaints are valid, but it's like,
Right.
there's no life without problems, you know? And yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but like, I
Yeah.
think I'm just trying to enjoy the game of life.
I'm thinking about how you're that and that and that a director, you're a writer, you're DJ now, you're a musician. Those things you could do on your own, or even if you collab with a person,
Yeah.
like another person.
Yeah.
But also you're kind of a curator of the arts. So when I think about, for example, Border Stage,
Yeah.
which is honestly one of a kind musical experience,
Wow, thank
especially
you.
in Kampala. I don't know whether these are things that you're actively thinking about, but this is something that's happening, which is very, very special.
That's so interesting. I think we think about those things almost in retrospect, but I also think they kind of flow to some extent from who we are. Like Border Stage is run by myself and my homies and my brothers, Wana Benjamin and Alim Kamali. And we started this thing off like, the Border Stage itself is a distribution entity,
Yeah.
right? That's how we put our music out. We all make music, we all produce and make music and put it out there. And we wanted to find a way to have more control over that. So we figured out a way to put a bit of money together, and we were like, this also happened during Corona when like the only things that were moving were like borders delivering things and
Yeah.
whatnot. So we were like, this is the best distribution system, first
Right,
of all. It's
right.
the most Ugandan distribution system.
Let's go. Shout out to the border.
Shout out borders, man. Like the lifeblood of our economy.
Yeah.
You know, but we also realized like as a stage, we're also guys who are doing our own thing, but also coming together to create like a combined platform where we can put our work out, you know. So now that started a snowball, you know. A friend of ours, Thi, a really great DJ, he comes to us and he's like, yo, there's this place in Muyenga, they want to do a show in December. They don't really have a plan. I told them I know some guys, right? So we were like, I guess. So we had a friend of ours come, we had two friends of ours come on board on the lineup, Ejuku, Isaiah, and Thi, myself, and we had Wana DJing. And that was our first Border Stage party. And we just came together super quickly, and whatever we could manage, what we had, we did. That was a crazy time for me in my own life. Yeah, crazy time. My aunt passed away during that period, like 2 days before the party. It was a bit of a madness, you know. But one of the things that I know was very clear to us during that period was we didn't want to have a party like a lot of the parties we've experienced in Kampala, right? I think I'm someone who's not super selective about where I party. I'm not even selective about like the music, about like the place. I honestly don't care as long as I'm with good people, you know. But I also realized that the experiences I've really enjoyed have been the ones where honestly you're just on a big dance floor, you know, and there's no pretension around like yeah, what are you wearing, what are you, you know, like me
There's no
personally,
tables, 10 million tables for people to sit around and
reserved
buy
tables
Don
with like
Julios.
like sparklers and stuff, you know, like
Yeah.
no, bro, you know, there are more important things,
Yeah.
like just
like being
shaking,
consumed by
you
the
know?
music.
Sweating, shaking, and enjoying yourself primarily, you know, and being able to have that interactive experience. I spent like a year at some point not wearing shoes, just wearing like sandals and socks. And I just liked it as a look, you know. When I find a look, I'm sticking to it. But it became weird. I never realized it became weird getting into like certain clubs and certain bars and certain like. And I'd be like, bro, personally, I look fresher than all these niggas you're letting in here.
Orange.
I look fresher than all these guys. But you guys are just like, oh, we won't let you in with sandals on. I'm like, yeah, but also literally this girl that I'm here with also has the same sandals on. But like, what's this, you know?
It's also colonial influences, honestly.
Yeah. I don't, man. And we were just like, bro, we also just want to have an enjoyable experience in a space where like the priorities are different. So even when you mention things like security and stuff, it's like
safety, really.
Yeah, safety, you know. It's like, I think those things to some extent initially flow naturally from, I think, who we are and what we want to enjoy in the world, what we want to experience in the world. And I think retroactively we look back and we're like, okay, cool, this was a thing, we got this feedback, we got that feedback. This is something that we need to tweak, something we need to work on. I think we had like our first border stage party where like phones got stolen very recently at the edition before this last edition. And that's the thing where we're like, okay, cool, we need bouncers, you know, and we never needed like bouncers before. But now we're like, okay, cool, we need some bouncers.
Right, even the Mola space opens up. Because like Amora is in between, like, should I share with people or should I gatekeep? Because I'm like, we're already having a good time. There's no creeps, you know? Like, even in that sense. And it's so interesting because it's like, I think people respond. We have, sometimes we cop out by saying, that's how it is. You know, sexism exists. What are you going to do? But I think a lot of times also people respond to what's happening. So I'm just like, if it exists and people in Kampala are the ones coming to border stage, why aren't I encountering creeps being creepy? Right. It's because people come to a space and they see that that's not happening here. And that's probably not allowed. That's, you know.
Because you pick up on culture, I think, very quickly. In a very unspoken way. You read the room, you know.
So shout outs, man.
That's really nice. It's really nice that also that's a thing that's, you know, that you've experienced and has been your, like, because I think even like, as a man, I think there are things that I am not as, sincerely, you know, until they're brought to my attention, until I see them happen. But I think on some level, like, things like safety and, you know, are things that, man, I'm glad everything's cool, you know what I mean? I think we've had incidents where we've had to like kick people out, where we've had to like, you know, do things, you know. But I can't say, sit down and tell you we have a border stage manifesto where it's like, okay, this is this, you know. I think it flows from who we are, and just like you, I'm very much also afraid of
Jagala Kuvela, courage. That's madness.
Like, things that made it special when it was just the homies, you know, when everyone knew everyone and whatnot. But I believe in good problems, you know, and I believe like when you grow, you get different problems that you now have to deal with in a different way. And there's always a way, you know.
Okay, let's talk about these covers, repurposing, redoing the Ugandan classics.
Okay, the retouches.
You know, Mikey, Sirikawa, like I think that's a really, really beautiful thing, because I think 90s kids especially, we have experienced both, where the musical arts were just music, and whether it's in like consuming it or it being made, and there was just people were here for that pure art form. Today it's kind of different. It's what will trend. It's it's like a TikTok challenge. Like TikTok dances.
You don't think Sirikawa Baby was like the TikTok challenge of its time?
I think it was, but I think in a different way. First of all, it's because like it pays homage to like this really great tune, this great sound, this great production from before, and so you kind of marry it with a contemporary and a funky vibe to it, and I think then it helps with the experience where it's still a classic, but we are also experiencing it in our own way.
Yeah.
What makes you? What made you pursue this kind of thing? You've done it with a couple of classics. What made you think of this?
I honestly think it's that. I think it's that thing of like you've grown up with certain things that are so special and wonderful, but then you're also like, I don't know, man, you get older and you realize, that's Sirikao by Emperor Orlando is like 30 years old at least at this point, you know?
Yeah.
It's a classic. It's like Radio 1 when we were kids was playing music from like the 70s, 80s at most, but like the 70s, that's what was old. That's what was like 20 years, 30 years prior. Now it's the 90s that are like vintage.
Yeah,
that
we are
like,
the uncles and aunties.
We are, man, you know? And like, I think it came from a place of just wanting to experience those things, you know? I think a big ethos of mine is like the things that I want to enjoy in the world, the experiences that I want to have.
You share with us.
Yeah, so I'm like, if you guys take long to make it happen,
Yeah.
let's just do it ourselves, you know? I want to listen to Mike on the dance floor, but also listen to it in a slightly different way, you know, in a slightly recontextualized way, you know? I want to listen to Sirikao in a slightly different way. I want to like, and I honestly thought at that point that it would be a thing of people recognizing those songs and that being why they enjoyed them. But then there's also just as many people who are not aware of those songs.
They're like, what was that?
Yeah, dude, like I feel like, I don't want to enter the Gen Z wars again, but like I genuinely feel like because like traditional media for us growing up was such a big thing, there were like limited ways you'd enjoy media, right? So everyone was kind of like experiencing the same media largely, you know? At some point there were like 2-3 radio stations in the 90s,
Right.
and then they blew up. But even TV stations and things like that, they were like limited, you know?
Right.
Now everyone has their own channel to find whatever they want, you know?
Information and art and music and everything.
So you don't even need to know the same like classics or the same like old songs or whatever. I'm so surprised sometimes even with like my musician friends who are a little bit younger than me when I'm like assuming, you know what I mean? Like they know this classic or that classic or whatever. I remember when guys got annoyed with, I think it was Lil Yachty or something, for saying he doesn't listen to the Notorious B.I.G., he doesn't listen to like, and like the Joe Buddens of the world were incensed. They were like, oh my God, how can you say that? And it's like, no, bro, but like they don't have to and they shouldn't have to pretend to. So somehow maybe recontextualizing those songs also gives them a chance to like look back, you know? Because the things that have done that for me as well, where I'm like, because of this particular song, I went and I tried to find the sample that made it, and now I've discovered this whole new artist who I didn't know existed, but has like so many albums and what. And I think it also comes from a place, honestly, where I'm like, I hope as an old man, there'll be like younger artists coming through, like sampling my work and keeping it alive and keeping it going for their own generations and for putting it in spaces I could never imagine and in ways that I could never imagine.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the dream, to be honest, as well.
Okay. You're not like out there. Again, I said like you're not out there with placards, but some of your work, if someone, depending on who is consuming and where someone is looking, has socio-political undertones or overtones, again, depending.
Interesting.
So I want to know what issues, socio-political issues, are important to you.
Yeah.
The ones you think about as an artist, even whether you're creating or even in the way of being, those that are important to you.
I want to ask you first, if you don't mind, like what do you, even just off the top of your head, it doesn't have to be like a deep analysis or anything, but what do you perceive sociopolitically, even from any work of mine that you've consumed,
so
that jumps out at you?
So immediately I'm thinking Sirikao video. Yeah. Yes.
Tell me.
I don't want to not spoil it. Well, if you've seen it, you've seen it.
Yeah.
If you haven't gone see it, I also don't always guard against kind of projecting the issues that I care about, especially in this space, because like I said earlier, an artist is an artist, and whether they like it or not, if they're doing the art form, they're in a way, it's a political issue. Yeah. But I don't want to also project my interpretation of that on people.
But I think that's really interesting when like someone makes something, and even if the thing they're communicating is not the thing that you're receiving, but you're receiving something based off of what also preoccupies you. I think that's a cool thing, because it's like, okay, this person made one thing, and then 10 people watched it, and now 10 different things exist, you know, of that one thing. Which is why I'm like, yeah, Sirika, what's your read?
I think it's, first of all, the political climate in which we operate.
Yeah.
And whether as an artist or just a citizen, the things that, like, the living in fear, you know, that's sometimes valid, sometimes constructed, where it's like, oh, you don't say this. Remember in the our grandparents, my grandmother who passed used to say, oh, don't talk about certain things. We don't talk. Don't talk about Bruno. Yeah, where like there's fear that's embedded in like even our subconsciousness, so that we do not. It creates a certain apathy, whether it's like, hey, I don't care about politics, people.
Yeah.
But other times it's really from man.
Yeah.
Bill money.
Yeah.
What. So I feel like there's a part of it that communicates to me that kind of, that's why I said it could be an undertone, it could be an overtone, depending on who is looking. Right. Yeah, but overall, that kind of, like the fear of it.
Yeah. I think, for sure. I'll say this. I've made things in the past where like I'll make like a film and I'll just be trying to tell a story, right? And it's only when I'm maybe like screening it, right? And I'm screening it with people that I know, that like things will start happening and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this thing is actually about so and so who's sitting like 2 rows back, but I wasn't thinking about it the entire time. So that's the thing that happens. That's like not intentional at times. But I'll say for myself personally, for sure. Like even with things like Sirikawo and other things I've made, like I think I try to be smart with how I express my ideas, you know. I think expressing political ideas can be very tricky and can be very unsafe and very, you know, and I'm my mom's only child, you know, and I think it's a blessing to be able to like, I used to find it really annoying, the idea that I couldn't just say the thing, you know.
I hear you.
Like, man. Yeah. Like even whether as a filmmaker or whatever, I'd just be like, just say the thing, you know. And at various points in life, different people, whether it was screenwriting teachers or whatever, would just be like, yo, you know, honestly, if you do find a different way to express it, not only is it more interesting and effective, but it can also do more in a different way.
Creativity?
Yeah, like it's even more satisfying for the consumer to like unpack it themselves and like
I think your work gives us a chance to and it's very accessible, but also it puts you to work. It makes me think.
Wow.
It makes me think. And listen, this is why I'm saying that it's interesting because it's not overt. It's not like, well, I wrote a piece about this and this and this and this. It's not like it's a film on this and the themes are clear.
Right.
It just like makes me, it's embedded in the experience. Yeah. And that makes me think.
Because like, you know, like I was saying earlier, like, man, everyone hates being sold to. You know what I mean? And preached to. And
yes.
Like, come on, man. Like, I think the things that we enjoy the most are the things where, like, because story and music as forces of, like, I feel like they're just forces and patterns in life, you know? And I feel like they're such powerful patterns that they, in and of themselves, are what pull you in, you know? And are what give you that experience. And I feel like as you're going on that ride of the song, of the film, of the story, you start to pick things up that are very valuable, that are very like meaningful, that really stay with you. But the ride has to be
Organic.
good, you know? The ride has to, I had someone, the first, I think, ever screenwriting class I ever took, it was a very short thing, and this guy described it as like a roller coaster, right?
Okay.
And he was like, yo, you have these things that you want to do, but when you're thinking about like the ride itself, very often we think about the thing you sit in, you think about the experience of going up and down, right? But he was like, yo, you have to think about all the metallic structures that hold the ride up, that make it possible to do all the, you know?
And not drop you.
Yeah, and like, I genuinely feel like when that is prioritized, it's now possible to now embed the experience with all these other things that you can actually absorb even better, you know, all the ideas, and not be just so preoccupied with the ideas that the ride sucks, you know, but like give people a good, that's my philosophy, you know, and I don't believe in telling artists what to do. I think everyone doing things their own way makes the world a really beautiful place, but I think making the ride a great ride means that whatever people experience on the ride is going to stick with them more. And I love the idea, what you said about like the things make you think. I love that so much, because I'm like, I want to make things that people want to watch over and over again, because every time they do, maybe they pick up something new, or they pick up a new detail, or they see it in a different way.
Another thing, I think, honestly, when I see your work, it's just like, man, I already asked you about like your mind. How are you, are there ways for you to retreat, to decompress? Because this is way too much.
Yeah.
That's good. This is way too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already too much for even me, right? To do the job, do the work that's, you know, paying the bills, and then like, or like Sundays are for arts.
Yeah.
Now it's a whole like thing.
Full time.
How do you, or do you even like step away sometimes and just?
Yeah, I think I'm learning to get better at that thing. I think I'm recently rejigging my priorities a little bit, you know. I think I'm someone who used to prioritize work so much that I wasn't as present as I could be for family, friends, relationships, just, you know, just as a human, you know. And I think I had this idea that I will do the work and then the work will do this stuff, and then at some point I'll be able to afford the rest, I'll be able to afford the, you know what I mean, the time. But now I kind of know that I don't think it works that way at all.
Doesn't.
And I think if anything, having time for the humans in your life,
yourself,
you know,
the
and yourself, like, I think that fills up the cup that makes even the work benefit, you know, in a way of like, man, I was talking to a friend like 2 nights ago, and he was talking about how he has a VD for his kid, right? And he was talking about how his wife was gonna go to the VD, and I was like, are you going for a VD? I was like, yeah, no, but you know, I'm super busy, I'm getting ready for the nyege nyege, and I gotta prepare a set, and I gotta do all these things. And I like, it's easy to say for other people than for yourself when you're in the situation. But I was also immediately like, bro, but the truth is, if you just take a day off and go for VD, even what you're preparing,
your set won't crumble.
It might be better for it.
Right.
You know, not even it won't crumble. I think it could even benefit from you resting, taking time away, filling up your cup, dealing with it from a place of like fullness rather than you're always on that last 5% of battery, you know?
Yeah, dosing everything.
Yeah, like, man, just take some time away. It's hard. It's really hard also when you're really like consumed by the thing. But I think that's the real trick of it, to be honest. Like, take some time, do nothing for a little bit, you know, then come back and do the things you need to do with like energy.
And a fresh perspective.
Were you those people who like, I always enjoy this question of like, are you those people who, if you needed to study for like an exam, right? Were you more likely to like, or even to finish an assignment, were you more likely to stay up long hours, or like get up early, or like sleep early and then get up early?
I honestly, thank you for asking me that. I'm glad you're throwing it back to me, because I'm also working on that.
Yeah.
I used to be, I am still, but I'm, better.
Yeah.
That if this isn't done, I'm not sleeping.
Right.
Like that tunnel vision, which sometimes can be great,
Yeah.
other times it's just destructive.
Yeah.
So I'm still struggling a bit. Even this week alone, I'll tell you, 4 days this week, I've gone to bed at 3 a.m. Or maybe 3 days this week. And again, it's that. It's like, I'm just like, I'm about to finish. Let me just finish this thing.
Yeah.
And then I could just sleep in and be whatever.
Yeah.
But you could also just take those hours of sleep and wake up, and still continue that thing. You're not going to die.
Yeah.
All of these deadlines, it's not this. Or sometimes it's even valid. I'm just like, I want to be done with this so that I can focus on, for example, shoot day.
Right.
But yeah, sometimes I'm learning to say, like, things can be done concurrently. You don't have to obsess. Sometimes I can really pretty much obsess over a thing.
Yeah.
To just, until then, I'm not doing anything. I'm not taking care of myself then in terms of just sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm also on the journey.
Do you like, what do you do to switch off,
There's something I can't say.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that I consume for and shout outs. Yeah, but do it responsibly, yeah. So that, but I think I practice for a while now that helps me.
Yeah.
Is I schedule in my life, my relationships, if I'm just like, I've not caught up with Malcolm in a while.
Yeah.
The same way I wake up Monday morning and say, this is what I have to do, this work call, this work meeting, I schedule in like meeting with Malcolm.
Right.
So I'd be like, Malcolm, are you okay Wednesday? And also like I treat my interpersonal relationships, call with mom, call with dad, my siblings, as part of the list to do. As
important as the work things.
Yes, together. So they are also assignments for me.
Yeah.
So what that does for me is that, so for example, again, it's a bit of balance, because on Wednesday, for example, I've not seen a friend in a while. I know she's been struggling, but also I just want to catch up and spend time. So I get in touch Monday, I say, let's hang out, have a co-working day. But if you have to catch up with someone and listen to them, there's not much work that's going to be done. So I'm saying, okay, it's okay, I'll do this. And then when I got home, showered, got a cup of tea, and then worked transnight.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'm glad I didn't sacrifice that for this work.
Yeah.
So it also helps me decompress, because when, again, you've said, when you sit down with a friend, when you have a conversation with someone and they say, it's okay, it's going to be okay, or maybe they have a different perspective of something that gives you hope. Yeah. So those are the main things. Other times I will just read, and not reading for research, but just read because I enjoy reading. Just read fiction, just read stories that other people have written. That always, believe it or not, I think a lot of people don't realize this. There's always things that are, fiction is the best thing to read. There's a lot to learn about your life, about your work, about anything. So I feel like it gives me that grounded overall experience where I'm not just this person hooked on work, which is how our society has really. You're just a workaholic. You're saying things like, I don't see my friends for 2 years, but we know we are good. Get out of here. Like,
oh man.
I don't have time.
And you're so proud of it as well.
Yeah, I don't have time. You make time. You make time.
For the things that matter. Yeah, man. I think even when you mentioned reading, I realized recently I haven't been reading much in the last, I'll say, 5-6 years. I haven't been reading much, and yet I used to be such a big reader. It's the thing that used to get me in trouble at school. You know, like teachers wouldn't complain
You're
about
reading
like
in the math lesson.
yeah,
And
I'm trying to finish Harry Potter. You know, like they wouldn't complain about okay, I'd be talking a lot in class, blah blah blah. But the big things that they'd complain about is like, man, this guy is ever reading. You know, and now as an adult, it's so sad when I realized like I kind of lost that touch of
it
that,
definitely
you know.
reduces.
Sure, I'll watch documentaries, I'll do other things, you know what I mean? I'm always absorbing information, but it's so healthy to just pick up a paperback, you know, just pick up a thing and just flip the pages and like create worlds in your head.
I also love film, by the way. Film is a good way to decompress, but also learn about things. So
What are you watching?
So right now, do you know? Of course, I'm catching up now on Diplomat, but
of course,
I'm watching Penguin.
I haven't seen that, and I think I haven't seen it because I haven't seen the Batman, and I kind of want to like.
No, I have. So I'm watching it, and I'm finding that it's so layered in ways that, for example, other things might not be. So I'm picking up a lot on that. What else am I watching? Yeah, I'm really curious about the story of in Penguin. And other things it will be just like grab a movie here again, depending on the time. But I'm currently really enjoying the storyline of Penguin.
The Penguin, huh?
Yeah, and how I feel layered. It can be, it's not, let me not spoil,
No, I don't mind spoilers.
It seems like the themes are very basic, so even very basic, but it's so layered, man.
The one thing that's really exciting me about jumping into that whole side of that Batman universe is it sounds very grounded. It sounds very like all the other Batmans, even the Christopher Nolan one, sounds like very exaggerated in a way in terms of like this couldn't actually happen in our world. It's like a slightly alternative world where
it does, but it also maintains like they maintain a certain, I don't know whether it's the issues that I think other people pick up on issues in that universe, but like, so even let's think the character. You want to, I love when a filmmaker makes a character so complex that there is no liking or not liking them. That he can be the worst person ever. And I can feel such compassion for him. I think that teaches me in a way that I navigate life. Because it's also simple to be like, this person is like that. But to not excuse, but to just like draw compassion. I think so. That's one.
To even like them, you know, where you're just like, that's not a good person, quote unquote, but like there's something very likable about them that is so I think real.
And it's not in a way of where your character is like killing them all, pop. Like it's just like I see where this guy comes from, his story. Like I see how he's also just trying to survive. He's a product of the system. And, you know, so it just like I like that about it, and I think that every character is like that. The storyline and the characters are all like clear. There's no black or white. Have you seen this film called Softy, the documentary? No, I haven't.
Like, about this Kenyan guy,
I
Boniface.
And yet, yes, it's been on the it was on my radar for a while because it was. Like
I think you can watch it on YouTube. I think it's like,
but I haven't yet. Boniface.
Why am I forgetting his surname?
But
like,
I know him.
And like great story. And one of the things that I loved so much about the story is when he starts running for parliament, his rival is this musician called Jaguar, right? And the first clips they show you are from music videos where you're like, yo, I remember this from East Africa TV, bro. And you see this guy, you see Boniface going out into the markets, talking to these old women, telling them what he wants to do. They're like, yeah, you give me some money. You know what I mean? Like, that's nice, but like, give me some money. And then you see Jaguar, and the situation is completely different. And he's like on top of this car. And this moment that I love so much where like there's people who are like trying to support him and they jump on the car and they're trying to like ride along. It's like, get off. You're going to, and he says, you're going to scuff my car. And it was so real. I was like, this is such a compelling, like, this is one of the most compelling villains I've seen in film.
I should go see
in recent time. You know what I mean? I don't love what he stands for, but as a human being, he's so real and authentic, actually, you know?
Yeah, he's not performing. There's also a lot of performing that happens. We've been taught to survive, you kind of pretend to be a certain kind of person who you're not, which those people are, I think, sometimes even more dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. But I honestly, I think it's something that I reflect on a lot with myself. And I think it's something that we all kind of have to like look back on. I can't speak for everyone, you know, but I think there are points in life, I'm at a point in life where I look around and I'm like, man, there's certain things that I perform in certain ways, you know, whether it's to avoid discomfort, whether it's to make certain things happen or to avoid certain things or to, you know, like things like anger, you know. I realize for me, I'm not someone who like easily expresses anger, you know. But then I'm like, man, there should be a space for that. Like, why is that something that I've like repressed in myself, you know? And I think being able to find that authenticity, even as an artist, I think is super important, you know?
Yeah,
like,
especially as an artist.
Like I genuinely think the things that we find compelling about artists are things that are very intangible.
Just like not, you know, that thing that's not well curated. Yeah.
I saw this clip on my For You page recently where, you know Lil Boozy?
Yeah.
Lil Boozy is on like a dating show, right? And this like young woman comes up to the space and like they're having a conversation and she says she's mixed, I think she says she's mixed black and Native American. I said, so you Indian? And she was just like, and she was like, yeah, no, I actually really don't like that term, that's really offensive, blah, blah, blah. He was like, for real? I'm sorry.
Like it's just
and someone in the comments said, you know what, man, he isn't racist, he's just country, bro.
He's just like ignorant,
but
and
he was
has
so
learned
sincere
and has received it.
But like when he realized he was wrong, he was very real about it. He was just being like, yo, you don't like that? I'm sorry, man, like that sucks. Like, shit, Native Americans, you guys have been through the most as well. And I think I've been thinking about this thing of like virtual signaling a lot, you know, even when it comes to that idea of performance and whatnot. I feel like, man, I feel like people, there is this space sometimes in a world where we're trying to make the world a better place and whatnot, where there's also just a lot of performance going on.
You can get stuck in like this is cool now.
This is what we do now. This is what's acceptable now. This is what we...
And you know, you're right. I'm glad that you mentioned it, because when you do that without doing the work, it's like, it becomes dangerous. I've seen a lot of people who present a certain way or associate with certain politics, and yet they have done so much harm to people that it doesn't match.
Like in real life, you know?
But they have deceived people enough to get close or to work with them. And now it's like, I wish you were just honest and doing the work and getting there, as opposed to, you know, saying all the right things when behind the scenes you're...
And what's very unfortunate, honestly, is like, it's like that paradox of leadership where you're like, the people who want it the least are the people who should have it the most.
Oh, absolutely,
you know? And I feel like even when it comes to spaces like, you know, trying to make the world a better place, even in art and trying to like, whether it's grow art, spread art, share a message, whatever. Yeah, man, sometimes like...
You're not part of the association.
Yeah, you know, like the politics really jumps out. And when I say the politics, I also mean that in that very crude, mobilizing, like power-hungry politicking, you know. And it's like, it's part of it, you know what I mean? And like I said earlier, I'm trying not to complain, you know what I mean? Just trying to enjoy the game more and learn how to do things better. But you just really recognize like, man, the performance is real, you know? And I think on one hand, I'd rather also just be in a place where I'm more aware, because you can also be performing when you don't realize it. And those are also two different
True,
things, you know.
true.
You can perform to manipulate, and sometimes you can just perform to survive.
Yeah, you catch yourself a lot of the times where you even, like the thing you said about anger is really important because you're betraying yourself because it looks bad. Like, oh my God, like how it really look if I lose my cool. And
It makes me think, you've seen Moonlight, right?
Yeah.
So
beautiful film.
something that really connected with me about Moonlight is, you know, the scene where he's being bullied, right? And then he strikes his bully and I think he kills him. I was like, yo, I feel like I can relate to that so much on a level of being like, as someone who doesn't express anger or conflict, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're not conversant with that side of yourself, you also don't know how to moderate it.
So you snap, yeah.
So if anything, it's more likely to control you in the end. It's like Carl Jung's shadow, you know?
Yeah.
Like my friend Dennis, he likes talking about the shadow a lot, Carl Jung's like philosophy and whatnot.
Let's go.
And when I started getting into it, I was
guys,
like, yo,
are you listening to this? Do the work. This is like.
But like getting into that thing of like, man, when you also over avoid things, you just keep giving them power. You're just feeding them in the dark, and you don't even know how big they're becoming until one day they just like engulf you, you know. And yeah, man. I don't know. Self-awareness is so important, and I think a nice thing that I think artists can do. You don't have to do it, but I think a nice thing that art can do is help people kind of work through those things as well. You know, you work through it yourself, put it on an album, and then people work through that stuff as well. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about. We already talked about the 3 aspects that artists we hope to have, even when we don't have the, you know, the roadmap. That you will express yourself, your art form, which you want to do, which feeds your soul. First and foremost, and then that you be safe in a way that you'll be able to survive. Be able to parent, have some kamane the weekend to go for border stage. And you know, and the other thing, but like, how are you? Or maybe don't tell us all your trade secrets, but what are ways that give us some, what do they call them? The tips, pro tips, navigating that space. I'm doing this art, I want it to survive. To survive, I may need some support, often monetary. Although, of course, there's other ways to, you know, collaborate with other people, pick up some of the stuff which we're doing here at ARTSY. But eventually, sustenance is really critical to the artists, to the projects, to what are the pro tips that you can give us?
I think whatever matters to you, you'll always make time for, you know. I think it's very important to know who you are and to know what matters to you. And I think being clear about those things, and I think, one of those things being survival in a material way, you know. I think being clear about those things makes it more likely that you can live the life that you want, you know. I'm not going to stand here and tell people think A, B, C, D, F, G, because the things that we all need to do are different, you know. The things that matter to us are different. The things that get us to that place are different, you know. But I think being aware of who you are and what matters to you, what your priorities are, what you won't have either, you know. The things I think sometimes that come our way that are a way to show us what we also don't want in life, you know. And I think being clear about all those things makes it more likely that you find the things that help you get to that point, you know. I think one of the things that all artists struggle with, especially if they get a day job or if they get, you know, or are balancing other work that might pay them more than the work that feeds their souls, is making time, you know, making time for it. And I think that's really all it is you have to just make time for it. There's no way around it, you know. I think the biggest tragedy of life is losing yourself, losing one side of yourself to strengthen another side of yourself, and then becoming bitter with that other side of yourself because you lost that other side of yourself.
Right.
Like, I don't know, man, you know, like, wake up a bit earlier. I'm someone who struggles with this thing of like putting aside finite pieces of time and being consistent with them.
Yeah.
But I just always hear that sound in the back of my head that's like, man, you haven't opened Ableton in 2 days, you know? Man, you haven't, you know what I mean? You haven't done this thing, or you haven't. And it sometimes comes to you when you're at your most tired, or you're at your most, you know? One of the things that I was always afraid of after a couple of years doing like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 work, before I went freelance, was when you work Monday to Friday, your time is demanded and taken by people who pay for it, you know, who make more money from your time than they compensate you for, but they demand your time and your energy. By the time you get to Friday, you're so exhausted, you start doing this thing of wanting to like pay yourself back, you know? So now you're in the bala,
Coping.
you know what I mean? You're in the bala trying to massage the time that you feel like, and it's like you're not going back to studio to do the thing that you have been pining over doing for the last 5 days.
Yeah.
You're just in the bala, complaining essentially, you know what I mean? Crying about like, man, all my time. And yet like, you can always make time for the things that matter, you know?
Okay.
So I feel like there's no like
Yeah.
one answer that fits all, that fits everyone. But I think we all have different circumstances and different realities within ourselves. And I think if you know, it sounds just very spiritual and intangible, but like I feel like if you know what matters to you,
Right.
you're more likely to,
Figure it out.
and to see it even when it comes your way, or to find your way to it. Like, you might not even have all the steps, but you always have at least what you need for the next step, I think.
Man,
really
I didn't
believe
know about Malcolm's spiritual side. They are telling us to face our shadows, telling us like,
You didn't hear it in the music?
I think there is a bit, but I wasn't like, I feel like when you hear it here, it's just like, hey,
Yeah.
it's giving monk energy, which we know you're not, but hey. So,
You say
okay.
monk energy.
Okay, one last thing.
Yeah.
What are you up to? What's coming up? What should we expect? We know. I don't care to know.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, whatever it is,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward.
I love that so much.
But, you know, for the audience, what
Yeah.
should we, what's coming up? What are you working on? And also, where can we find you for people who don't know about that Malcolm guy?
Yeah.
Interesting name, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, again, accessible and relatable, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, man, you can find that Malcolm guy on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you stream music. Just type in that Malcolm guy. You'll find my accounts on social media. I am at Mr. Bigyemano, which is my surname, at MrBigyemano. Man, I am working on the next border stage. I'm doing a lot of producing at this point in time. I started out making music with friends of mine who are producers who like, yeah, man, just honestly made that path so accessible and seemed so possible and real to me.
Okay.
But I'm having fun doing that as well now.
Okay.
It's such a nice experience, and the DJing, I think, feeds into that a little bit, where I'm like, man, the things that inspire me, that influence me, that kind of feed me musically and creatively, I want to share my own music, yes, but also to share it in context of all those other things, and like,
Yeah.
just kind of create a larger universe than even just myself.
That's
you know?
Oh, that's a good one, because that's what you do already.
Yeah.
You kind of create an alternate but universe, but that combines all of the things.
Yes,
So,
I like that. I like the sound of that. It's
Yeah.
To be honest, okay, you know what, I'll say it. Screw it. I think something that's very important to me, like, I don't have like a manifesto or whatever as an artist, but I've come to realize, based on the things that I make, something that's very important to me is like presenting a version of my Ugandan reality that is alternative, that gives us space to think of like a different way to Uganda. You know? I think like in so many different ways, there's so many things that we are like, oh, I wish this was like this or like that or like this or like that. But I don't think we believe it's possible. You know, like deep down, I don't think we believe it's possible. People always saying this thing of like, man, Ugandans don't like trying new things. Ugandans don't like, no, we're very narrow-minded and we like what's already there, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think on a broader scale, that also means the things that we are not happy about as a society are things that just persist. You know what I mean? That don't change, because I think we literally lack the imagination to believe that we can live a different reality. And I'm like, man, as artists, at least as me as an artist, something that I would love to look back on my life and say I've contributed is a way to look at the experience of perceiving Uganda, experiencing Uganda in a way that is different enough that we can see not just a different present or different past, but a different future as well.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Blessings. Thank you so much for having me. This was really
so
nice.
much
Thanks for a very thoughtful conversation, man.
Yeah,
you know?
thank you for a very thoughtful. I mean, I knew it would be fun, but
Yeah.
hey, like so many things to think about.
Same. Likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Aw.
Let me go back on this.
Yeah,
Go
thank you
back
for
on
your
that.
work. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your work, but also thank you for that. I feel like I do not take it for granted that you are actually aware of my work and that you know it and that you have thoughts about it and feelings about it. Like, I don't take that for granted.
Too bad.
And it's nice to know.
Yeah.
It's nice to know.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
tujaza bakabiwa neba conversation osobola omanya n'okuyiga ye intention ati wali talina recognition nga tabavubuka abamukola tulina mission ARTSY kati girabenga platform egenda okuteeka artist gwe ku form sibyakubuuza mbuno gwe owasa ddi ziri interviews babuuza ofumbirwa ddi tujaza bakabiwa neba conversation osobola omanya n'okuyiga ye intention ati wali talina recognition